Heroes and Legends War of the Rivals 2. Darius and his forces were confronting that of Joan Kun, the leader of the Watermans, to prevent him from reaching Anjosaka. Along with Joan Kun were Shoshana and Cabelon allies, Polo and Skepta, who were a part of the battle. Darius was curious to face the young, youthful Prime, who had grown to be a Prime in the middle of war. He wanted to test his sword to Junkun's spear, but the Cabelon forces were not going to allow Darius to have his duel with Junkun so easily. They rallied and surrounded Darius to try to fight and defeat him, but Darius used his fist and not his sword to overcome the Cabelon forces. Junkun, then enraged that his love for Shada was defeated, would not be able to see his feat when he defeated the Emperor of Anjosaka. Junkun went in full power and used his spear to summon waves of nowhere to try to swallow Darius whole. Darius then used his prime power to push back the water and wield his sword, and the sword clashed with Junkun's spear, and the clashes were beautiful, as blue and light energy, along with waves and water sparkling in the air, could be seen. Darius was impressed by Junkun's ability. Junkun too was also impressed by the power that Darius wielded. But as they continued to fight, Junkun realized that even his full strength, Darius was not even at full power. He just summoned his sword. He did not display the same power that he had before, way back then, during the desert castle, where he defeated his uncle, the then Anjoskan Emperor Angelo. Junkun knew that he, at his state, was no match for Darius yet. But still, he did not want Darius to know that. Junkun used all his might to try to beat back Darius. But at the end, Junkun had no choice but to retreat, vowing that one day he would get strong enough to rival that of Darius. Darius was impressed and let the youngster go, and was looking forward to the next encounter. Elsewhere, the battle between two potential lovers, the long-awaited battle, had finally begun. The forces of the Risi and the Zephyr were finally at war, and Trey and Huffy, their two close confidants, fought each other. Trey confronted Huffy for his son's betrayal. Huffy said that the Super Pino were fools, and his friend Ped was dead, and so joining the Zephyr was the only wise option for them, and asked Trey if Shane would have died, would he do the same, seeing that Kichuru was on the side of the Billdaron. Trey did not answer the question, because he did not know how to answer that question. As they fought, Shane and Laura crossed blades. Laura tried to convince Shane to join them, as the Billdaron and Anjosaka were clashing, and it was clear that the Billdaron might actually win and defeat Anjosaka. But Shane vowed that he would join and fight with Anjosaka still until the very end. And then, if they were to lose, then he'll see what happens then. But for now, he was a loyal officer of Anjosaka. Shane put back Laura and her sword plate, and then Laura will come again to try again. But this time, Shane was ready for Laura once more, and Laura then again tried to convince Shane, but Shane pushed her back. Trey had beaten Affi at this time, and Affi was forced to retreat. When the main Zephyr forces arrived, and then Laura appeared for a third time, and this time she was at full power. She vowed that she would drag Shane, even if he was in stitches, to her side one way or another. Shane admired Laura's determination to win him over and also return the power likewise. The two prime lovers, potential lovers, fought and dueled with epic swordplay. The two were evenly matched, and both of their forces backed away from them, not wanting to be caught up in the crossfire. And as they began to do, Shane grew more impressed by Laura, and Laura even confirmed her impression of Shane, and she still wondered why Shane never turned on Angelica yet. And seeing that his power was so strong, she knew that Shane still believed that Angelica still had a chance. In order to win him over, the builder would have to win this war, and Laura vowed that one day that would indeed happen. But for now, she was overcome by Shane's might, and before she could be killed, Shane held back his blade and let Laura escape. Failing to defeat the Zephyr and end them right there and then, Shane had a soft spot for Laura, and his mind might be swayed after all. In the meanwhile, the forces of Alani and Warren, Darlin and Dr. Anne were working together as one unit to defeat the combined forces of the Cabelon and the Celton. Now that the elders were officially either dead or out of the war and retreated back to Elishu, the full-fledged power of the Billdaron can now attack against the Anjosican forces. Alani, the queen of the Pupunumu, wanted to prove her worth by defeating the forces of the Cabelon and the Celton, who were responsible for getting the Bankron forces out of the dimensions. And so her and Darling worked together to beat back the foes of the Cabelon and the Celton. Master Rev of the Cabelon and Amanda of the Celton used their tricks, strategies, and fighting skills against the combined floor women's forces, but they were overly determined and pushed back against the mighty forces and officers of both these powers. Alani not only be shown up by Darling, used her push strength to show off her might. She was determined more than ever to beat back her forces, and so she raced to defeat Amanda, while Darling and Warren went against Master Rev. Dr. Annie, Darling's mother, went on the defensive mode. With their power play, Alani was able to beat back Iola, Amanda's right hand, and then Amanda faced the prime leader herself. Amanda knew power-wise she'd stood no chance against this LaFleur leader, who could very well be a potential leader of all in Josica. Still, she fought on against him, but still lost. With this victory, the Cabelon and the Sultan forces were defeated, and Josica was able to win the day. While all this was happening and going on, in another place, Damian had arrived in the Pinta stronghold, who was still celebrating after beating back the Pinta forces. Damian used his might and his full power that he had at the time to beat back the entire Pinta forces. Ince, Richard Sr. Jr., and Carr were caught off guard by this sudden attack. Damian used his swordplay to slash and burn the Pinta forces as he wanted vengeance for his fallen Pinta allies. Carr, them, who was still recovering from the battle against Midwind's forces, did not expect the mighty leader of the elder forces himself to appear. They were completely caught off guard by this, and as a result, many of them died, and the top leadership only managed to escape thanks to Carr's daughter Affi begging for mercy. And so Damian left, knowing that he was not at full strength yet, because 8 individuals still had a piece of him inside them, and so he left that battle, looking for a way to have all 8 of them in one place at one time. Affi cried bitterly for father and allies. With this, the Pinta were officially out of the war, and she and Affi alone was the sole Pinta officer still able to fight for the Billdaron cause.